it's Haley, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year Freakout book tag. So this is actually one of my favorite tag videos to do, and I never got the chance to do it last year just because June and like the middle of the year was a pretty busy time for me. I was away in California for a month, but this year I'm home. It's still a busy time, but I am finding the time to do this tag because I enjoy it. So essentially the idea of this tag is there are a bunch of questions. The original video is taken down, so I'm not sure who did this originally. I'm sorry about that, but they're kind of about like what you've read so far this year, what your favorites are, kind of analyzing all of that stuff. So far this year I've had like, I would say a pretty solid reading year. It's kind of hard for me to analyze it, but I have read 39 books so far, so I am really happy with that. I know that the past month has been a little bit more on the rocky side, so I feel like this is kind of like a bad time to be doing this tag when I'm not really feeling very enthusiastic about reading, but I'm doing it anyways. So let's just get into all of the questions. So question number 1 is the best book that you've read so far this year. So the best book that I've read so far in 2019, it was kind of hard for me to pinpoint exactly what it was because this year has been a very different reading year. I've started DNFing books. I've started being kind of more picky about what I'm reading and what I'm completing, and that has led to me reading some books that I really didn't enjoy and putting down some that I didn't enjoy, but it also has led to some really great reads. But I think my overall favorite for this year so far is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've actually read this book twice now, and I feel like that's saying a lot since my first time reading it was this year, since it is a new release for this year, but I read it for the Bookmarked book club pick and I was very excited that we picked this one. We all loved it. I will leave a link for our live show down below for you guys if you wanted to discuss it with us a little bit more, and I'll also have my review in the little card in the corner, whatever corner it's in, but I went pretty into depth about this book in that video and how I feel about it. But I just feel like it was such a unique reading experience, and because of that it quickly found its way into my heart as a story that I was like, wow, I feel like I could read this story over and over again and still love it. But by read, I really mean listen to, because I think the audiobook is the way to go for this book, at least for me in particular, because it's told in an interview format, so like there's not that much exposition. It's basically just answers to questions, and not even really answers to questions, but like them telling a story. So you just have like the name of the character and then colon, and they're just telling what they are telling. Wow, sentences are hard. But because of that format, the full cast audiobook was the way to go for this one for me. So I'm sure you've heard me talk about it a lot just because it was such a great story. It is set in like the 70s, in the height of the rock and roll era, and you follow Daisy Jones and the Six and this band, and you are just kind of right in there with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It is an adult book, so keep that in mind, but I think it was a fantastic story. It felt so realistic, and I just know it's one that I will remember for a very long time, so I think that this is definitely my favorite so far for this year. The second question I feel like is a personal attack on me because it is your favorite sequel that you've read so far this year, and 2018 and 2019 I've just been terrible with reading sequels. I don't know what it is. I'm like really excited for them, but then at the same time I'm like, I just want to read something new. So sequels have not been what I've been gravitating towards, and I hate myself for it, but I just keep putting them off. So I think I've only read like a couple, and most of those really can't be considered sequels. Like I've read some companion novels and some that are kind of sequels, but they're starting new series. So the one sequel that I have read though I really enjoyed, and that was Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. So this I have been meaning to read for forever. It is the sequel to Scythe, which I ended up rereading for the Bookmarked. Basically Bookmarked is my entire life now and the only reason I read. That's what these videos like seem like, but I swear I read on my own. It's just, it motivates me to read a bit more than I usually would. So we read Scythe for Bookmarked in like, I don't know, May? No, it wasn't in May. It was in, what month comes before May? April! Struggles. So we read it in April and it was a reread for me, but I enjoyed it so much the second time around because I didn't really have a time limit on it. I kind of let myself take a little bit more time to read it. So then Hannah went and she was reading Thunderhead and she was like, this is wild. And I had heard so much about Thunderhead, so I was like, okay, I'll finally pick it up. And I'm so glad that I did because, oh my goodness, was it a wild ride. Like there were so many things I wasn't expecting. Like the last like 50 or so pages, even the last 100 pages, I was like, I have no clue what's gonna gonna happen, and like I never would have been able to predict any of it. It was just an absolutely wild ending, and I can't wait for The Toll, which is coming out in like November or something. I don't even know. All I know is that I will definitely be reading it, and this was just such a great sequel. Really, all of these questions feel like they're attacking me. So the next question is a new release that you want to read but you haven't gotten the chance to get to yet, and there are, once again, so many of them because I have been horrible with putting off books recently, but the one that comes to mind more recently is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is definitely a recent new release, but it is still the one that I think I'm the most excited to get to, and it's the one fantasy book that I feel like I really want to give a chance, even though I feel so repetitive, but you all know, like, take a shot every time I say fantasy and I have been struggling lately, but it's true. So the fact that I've been kind of gravitating towards this one more and kind of wanting to pick it up is a really good sign for me, so I think I will try and make this one a priority soon, but I don't know that much about it. All I know is it deals with like a sorceress or something like that, and it's set in like this magical library, so everything about it sounds like it's right up my alley, and I've heard some really good things about it. I've heard some not good things about it too, but like that's like with any book. I've heard more good things though, so I'm definitely looking forward to it and hoping that I will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed her first book. Question number 4 is your most anticipated release for the rest of the year, and that without a doubt would have to be Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is Leigh Bardugo's first adult novel, so I'm really excited to see how she writes for that age category, but she also is just my absolute favorite author. I love her. She's so sweet, such an amazing human being, but also such an amazing writer. I just love her books so much, so I cannot wait for the story. It's very different than her usual. It's like this secret society at Yale. Like every part of it sounds so cool, and of course on the cover we have Booksnake living its best life, so like so pumped for that. Question number 5 is your biggest disappointment for the year, and I would have to say there have been quite a few. I feel like one that comes to mind is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and that one isn't the one that I like went for. Like that's not my official answer. That's kind of like an honorable mention, but that isn't my official answer because I didn't hate it. I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but I definitely didn't enjoy it quite as much as everyone else seems to, so because of that it was a little bit disappointing for me. I feel like I kind of missed the boat on that one. But my official answer would have to be The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. This is one of those books that everyone was going wild over. They were like, it was great, it was so good, and then like I opened it and I got to page 40 and I was just so confused that I was like, nope, this isn't happening. So that was really tragic because it was so pretty and like her writing is beautiful, but like wow, I felt like I was reading something in a different language. I was just so, it went right over my head. Maybe I'm just too dumb for it, I don't know, but it was definitely disappointing for me. On the other hand, the next question is your biggest surprise for the year, and for that I would have to say it was Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins. I received this book when it was titled Royals, and I was kind of interested in it, but I just felt like the cover honestly made it really hard for me to want to pick it up. I felt like it seemed a little bit juvenile and not really like something that I would gravitate towards, but when it came out with this new cover, and I know I sound like such a superficial bitch, but like what else is new? I just really care about the covers of books, okay? So when they came out with this new beautiful cover, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll give it a chance. So I went out and bought it and I gave it a chance, and I'm so glad that I did because it was so fun. Like it's such a funny story, the characters are so spunky, and just a blast to read from their perspective and get to know more. So I definitely loved this story and was so surprised by how much I ended up enjoying it. I loved the kind of Scottish monarchy, and like it really reminds me of the Princess Diaries sort of thing, and that was just so great to read. Next up is your favorite new author, and that is either an author that is new to you or a debut author, and I'm going with an author that is new to me, and that would be Christina Lauren. So Christina Lauren, if you didn't know, is actually an author duo. It's 2 authors. Mind blown when you figure that one out, but I have actually already read one of their books. I read Autobiography, which was their teen novel, and I read that last year, I think. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I read it fairly recently and enjoyed it. But this year I got more into their adult romance, and I have read 2 of them so far, and I have the other ones waiting for me to read because I just fell in love right away with the writing style. It's so fun, and it's just like a little bit of smut, but a really cute relationship, which is the perfect romance for me. So I'm very much looking forward to diving more into their array of adult romances that they have. Speaking of, the next question is your newest fictional crush, and I would have to say it is Josh from Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. So this is the first adult romance of theirs that I got into, and really one of the first adult romances that I've ever read, and it was the perfect way to start because I think it was like the perfect one for me, and Josh is just so cute. I loved him so much, and I fell in love with like both characters in this book, but Josh definitely has a special place in my heart, and it's nice to have a new fictional crush. He just sets the standards so high that it's basically unattainable. The next question is my newest favorite character, and this was actually kind of a hard one for me. I feel like a lot of these questions I could talk about the same books over and over again. Like my newest favorite characters, the first one that come to mind are from Prince Charming and Josh and Hazel. Like I like those spunky kind of quirky characters, so I really liked them, but I'm going to go with Bree from On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. Bree was a really interesting character for me to read about because I think she's very flawed, but she's also a character that you can get behind and kind of root for, and I liked that she had a really multifaceted personality, so I found her extremely relatable, and because of that I very much enjoyed her. I loved the family dynamic and really the friendship dynamic as well, so I think she was definitely a character that stood out to me in the books that I've read so far this year. Number 10 is a book that made you cry, and no book has made me cry this year. That's not even really that hard for me. I don't generally cry when I'm reading books. I don't know, I'm just dark inside. You'll find nothing in there. But instead I'm going to talk about a book that impacted me the most and I felt like meant the most to me, and that would be Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This book really was unexpected. This could also be a surprise for this year because I had no clue what I was going to get going into it, but what I got was a story that I think is very important and really is something that should be read by high school students everywhere, because it kind of goes over the idea that there is no one set path for success, but everyone kind of acts like there is this one path, but no, like you can go whichever way you want and that is totally fine. So I think just the relationship between these characters and the self-discovery that happens in this book and the things that it muses on really meant a lot to me. Next up is a book that made you happy, and once again my instinct was to go for a book that I already talked about, but kind of bending the rules a little bit here. I mean, there are no rules, but I'm going to say that that book was Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. This book definitely made me smile on multiple occasions. I loved following the relationship between Princess Flora and I don't even remember her name. Millie. I'm so terrible with that stuff, but Millie and Princess Flora and their relationship blossoming was just, do you see what I did there? Because Flora blossoming. You're welcome. But it was just the cutest thing in the world, and oh, it was just so nice to see the characters from Prince Charming show up in this book as well, and it just made me so happy. It is just adorable. If you haven't read it yet, please do. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book that you bought this year, and I'm actually going to talk about a couple of books here. So the first one is This Time Will Be Different by Misa Sugiura. This was also a really good book. I quite enjoyed it. Actually, both of the books I'm going to talk about I really enjoyed, but it is so beautiful. I love it so much. It's about a girl in her family florist shop, and I haven't even seen it under the jacket, but like pretty green, but it delves deeply into a lot of different issues as well, such as race, and it deals with the Japanese internment camps, and it was just a very good story, really impactful, but also it is so beautiful. And then we also have With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, which I think is like the prettiest book ever that I've had in like so long. Like, look at how gorgeous it is. Oh my god. But wait, there's more. Oh, I like want to scream every time I see it because it is so pretty. I'm just absolutely obsessed. Every part of this book is gorgeous. It is gorgeous on the inside, and look at like the end papers and even like the chapter headers. Oh my god. It is just so beautiful. Highly recommend that you check it out. Now, question 13 is one that I'm not even gonna bother trying to answer, but it is what books do you need to read before the end of the year, and literally everything that's on my shelf that is unread is my answers. So there you go. But that was the mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I post. I post new videos when I feel like it now. I don't really know. I'm a mess, but thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye!